Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. I am here to tell you about one of the approaches I use with dollar boxes. I thought I'd just do this myself without Rich, because Rich has his ways. This may be a little bit similar to what Rich does, but Rich does his thing, I do my thing, and other guys that I'm sitting next to, I notice they're pulling what they want to pull. So I don't like people looking over my shoulder. I try not to look over their shoulder because it's a personal thing. But here's one of the strategies that I use. But first, let me thank the sponsors. Again, if we didn't have card companies, there wouldn't be any dollar boxes to look through. So Topps, Panini, and Upper Deck, thank you for your offerings. Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, and Heritage Auctions, and Huggins & Scott Auction. So I'm just reflecting back on, especially over the last 3 to 6 months, I've been more aggressive on pulling from dollar boxes. I have different strategies, but it really breaks down into 3 strategies. is getting pretty good cards, pretty good players. That's what I'm going to talk about today, as opposed to getting bad or less noteworthy cards of really good players, or really good cards of bad or the not widely collected players. I'm going to talk today about getting pretty good cards of pretty good players. They're probably better than pretty good players. They're players that you'll recognize the names. I don't like getting base cards, the 10th year cards. If it was Tom Brady, maybe, Michael Jordan, maybe, but I don't really like to get bad, overproduced cards, even if they're really good players, even if they're stars. But then to get a really good card of a not so great player that is not widely collected, but eventually might be collected, I find it. But this is this middle category, pretty good cards for pretty good players, not expecting to see one of ones, but not really looking for base cards either. So I've got them in alphabetical order. I'm going to go A through D. I just started. I thought, gosh, I'm not going to make it through the alphabet unless I do a bunch of episodes, but I'll do this one. You let me know if you want me to go further. So first, Keenan Allen. Not sure he's going to make the Hall of Fame. I love the fact that he's been with the same franchise, but I don't think he's going to make the Hall of Fame. Again, these next couple of years, we'll see. So that makes him marginal for me. If he's going to make the Hall of Fame, then I'm going to pick up interesting inserts, higher numbered serial cards, like 1 of 1,000 maybe. I don't know. But if he's a bad player, if he's not going to make the Hall of Fame, I'm going to tighten up what I'm looking for. It's going to need to be a better insert or a more premium brand or a little bit shorter numbered insert that's serial numbered. Tiki Barber. I'm not sure he's going to make the Hall of Fame, but again, the fact that he was always a Giant, and I just think he's a good player, and I'm going to continue to pick up. I think he has some following. I'll probably continue to pick up some cards. OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. How long can you go on one fabulous catch? He's now 8 seasons. I still think that's his legacy. Is it special gloves that he has? So I'm not enamored of Odell Beckham Jr., but he has lots of cards. And so he's in there. As I'm working through this, I'm realizing I think I need to be more selective. And so I'm not going to just take anything that's Odell Beckham Jr. Le'Veon Bell, his running style, wait for the hole to open. He was waiting for his opportunity, and he wound up sitting on the sidelines for a season. He was too patient and maybe got stale. So his running style is out of favor. Again, for a few years there, he had lots of cards, lots of inserts. So they're in the dollar boxes. I'm going to be a little more selective on him going forward. Drew Bledsoe, he's in there all over the place. He's got 14 seasons of being a quarterback, even on the Cowboys. He'll always have the claim to fame of being supplanted by Tom Brady. I just don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but he's got lots of cards as a quarterback, and pick up some of the Cowboy things for sure. Anquan Bolden, 14 seasons of maybe not mediocrity, of being a really good player, but I'm not sure he's going to make the Hall. And he's got some cards out there. So again, he goes in that middle category. Sam Bradford started out strong. I think there's no problem with his arm. It's just that there's a lot more to being a quarterback than just having a great arm. It's been hit and miss of some of these quarterbacks that came out of OU. Still 9 seasons in the league, but just never really grabbed. But being a quarterback, you're going to have cards. So I probably will keep going with Sam Bradford because of the OU connection. I've got a lot of friends from OU. Surprisingly, there's tons of dollar box Drew Brees. And I've picked up some 2nd and 3rd year base cards, no rookies. And he had the most yardage of all quarterbacks until Tom Brady just passed him up. So he's a sure Hall of Famer. So I will be more aggressive on picking up interesting cards in the dollar box for Drew Brees. Teddy Bridgewater, next one alphabetically, keeps getting chances. And for a while, he does really good. Whether he's going to be an enduring quarterback this time, he's had some spurts. Ronnie Brown, 10 seasons. I think he's probably, I need to be more selective there. And not that he wasn't a good running back and effective, but I just don't think he's going to make the Hall of Fame. Tim Brown, on the other hand, local guy, spoke at the Summit, Hall of Fame, Notre Dame, lives in Dallas. He could possibly come over. Tim, if you want to come over, you're welcome to come over. I've got lots of his cards, and I'm accumulating his cards because I just think he's a good guy and a very talented receiver. And like I said, he's local. Plaxico Burress, not Tim Brown caliber, had some personal conduct policy violations, lots of physical talent. But again, I'm not sure, unless you're a Michigan State fan, you're collecting Plaxico very aggressively. So again, he goes in that category of maybe, unless I see something really interesting, I'm not going to pick it up. Reggie Bush, lots of cards. I don't even know that I can say he has a Heisman Trophy because I don't think he has a Heisman Trophy anymore. It's been taken away from him, I think. But 11 seasons in the league, and he had some spurts there, and so he has lots of cards in his early years. But you just can't say, I'm going to pick up cards that are serial numbered or that are second-year cards. It goes by the player, and he's not that popular by virtue of being in the dollar boxes so much. David Carr, losing record every year. But now he's an announcer, and he's got Derek Carr. Also, earlier this year, he was in the dollar box. I'm not sure he is anymore. I think some people are giving up too soon on him, but there's some talent there. Carrie Collins, 17 seasons as a quarterback, typically a starter, but not on terrific teams. Certainly ought to be candidate for some regional interest because he moved around and had some good stints in some major markets. But he's not going to make the Hall of Fame, I don't think. And so, but he, as a quarterback, he's got lots of cards, and they're in the dollar boxes. So I'm going to keep picking them up. Amari Cooper, he's on the Cowboys. I definitely see base cards in the dollar box and some low-level inserts. And I'm at the point now where I'm not as impressed with him. I know he's a Cowboy, but I'm going to be pulling back on picking him up out of dollars boxes because I think I've already got all of his base cards and all of the low-level inserts. Michael Crabtree, Texas Tech. So I'll probably still pick up some of those. Really couldn't produce in the NFL in a sustained way like he did in college. Dante Culpepper, getting mixed up with Steve McNair, but Steve McNair has passed away. Dante Culpepper had great potential and had some great years. But again, like I said, I think I'm not going to be as aggressively pulling him going forward. Jay Cutler, same thing. For some reason, he's just not that popular. But as a quarterback, he's got lots of cards in the dollar boxes. And if they're still in the dollar box, it means unless I'm the first person to get to the dollar box, which I rarely am, then other people have already passed over him. And not without reason. He's not popular. Andy Dalton, I'll keep picking him up. He's got a TCU connection and Cowboys and now Bears, although I think he's past his prime, but he's always be a TCU. Eric Dickerson, surprisingly, even in Dallas, I'll find him in the dollar boxes. Went to SMU, not that powerful for as amazing of a running back he is, but I will still pick him up because he's SMU, and maybe he'll come over sometime. I don't know. So I'd like to have a good assortment of his cards. Corey Dillon, a really good running back, but perhaps not great. Probably not Hall of Fame. For example, Priest Holmes, I think Longhorn, I'll probably continue with Priest Holmes, but Corey Dillon, I'll be phasing out of my search. Josh Doxson, a TCU receiver, great in college. We'll see. I'll just keep picking him up just because of the TCU connection. Maurice Jones-Drew, problematic. How do you alphabetize his name? I've got most of my cards now that are not complete sets in alphabetical order with a hyphenated name. Is he going to the J's, going to the D's? I've chosen to put him under the D's because there's some cards he's just Maurice Drew. Had 3 great years, outstanding then, but that's not enough for the Hall of Fame in football. And then finally, we get to the end of the D's here. Warwick Dunn, I would vote for him for Hall of Fame. I think he was an outstanding player, and really was a featured back for a couple franchises for quite a while. And I said I would vote for him for the Hall of Fame. He won the Walter Payton Man of the Year. That counts for a lot in my book too. So I think he's worthy of my chase through the dollar box. So that's a quick run through A, B, C, and D for football cards. I've got a show coming up in a few weeks, and so don't take those guys before I get a chance to look at them. Seriously, I'm sure there's enough cards out there for everybody, but enjoy the hobby, and I will be back again on Monday.